There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, and sitting over there is my favorite person in the world. Her name is Rochelle. And Rochelle, you have had quite the week. We won't get into it today, but I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. I think this is the perfect show to raise my vibration and start me off strong. It feels like the day's ending, but it only gets to continue, and isn't that a blessing? So I would like to warm welcome Oksana to be here with us today. This woman does incredible things. She started a company that is called People Culture You, which we're going to talk about. What does that mean? Where'd you come up with that? But thank you for being here, Oksana. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Rochelle and Kevin, for having me.
And it is like people, comma, culture, comma, you. Would that be right?
Correct.
Because everybody has got their own personalities but as we mentioned before we even began the show, that culture is something that just naturally occurs, but you get to determine what that culture is going to be, don't you?
Correct. So the way I view culture, it's already there, right? Every organization has it. Same thing as the term personal brand, which I'm now actually more using your voice instead of personal brand. It's already there. I think the big difference is it intentional? Is it purposeful? And is it something that accurately represents who you actually are? Or is it in a way something accidental that just happens?
In your work, well, first of all, I guess we should go back into the mists of time. How did this all start for you?
Ooh, my own business or just my profession?
Well, in the beginning, there was your profession, and then there was this desire, I'm assuming, you tell me, your desire to do something more and to become more because you can help people in a unique and powerful way. Am I close?
You are. So actually, my entire career has been in the people operations and HR space, and I completely fell into it. I don't think I knew what HR was growing up. I think most kids don't, and if they do, I don't think it sounds that glamorous. And I'm so glad I did fall into it. And the way it happened is I was an executive assistant. I interviewed for a role with the company, reporting and supporting a director of human resources. During the interview, I did let her know I love to stay busy. I'm the type of person that I'm a lifelong learner. She promised that the role would satisfy both. Fast forward 2 weeks, I did not really have that much to do. So I realized that I probably should have spent a little bit more time really understanding her definition of busy compared to mine. So I went back and let her know that I'm like, hey, everything that you're giving me, I'm able to do very quickly. So if this is the entire role, we might have some issues because I'm bored out of my mind. And I'm like, if you can't give me more, I also understand, but then I'm going to have to start looking for something different. And thankfully, again, she either wanted to keep me or saw something in me or all of the above. And she started really uncovering, the veil of HR, really giving me an opportunity to partner with the rest of the team, understand what they're doing, be involved in projects, own my own projects, and truly within a few months, fell in love with it, completely transitioned after being an EA and became an HR generalist. And another part that helped me with my career is during that time, I was also going to school full time. in the evenings and was majoring in business administration. And now that I got a chance to try HR hands-on, I decided that I wanted to update my major and do my emphasis in HR. And that also helped propel my career because by the time I graduated, I had 3 to 4 years of hands-on experience. And then also, I guess I'm a risk taker because I'm the type that loves to join startup companies, small and medium-sized companies, which the rate of, with the pace with which they work is something like I've never seen in any other environment. So you have exponential ability to learn and grow in a short period of time.
So let me get this straight. Go ahead, Rochelle.
No, go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, so you've got a full-time job, and you're going to school at night.
And I had a newborn baby at home.
And you tell your boss, I'm sorry, I'm bored. How can you possibly be bored if you've got a full-time job, you're going to school at night, and you got a baby at home?
Again, it goes back to wanting to be challenged, wanting to know that what I'm doing has a purpose, is contributing. It's not just check the box. And again, I've always been very curious. I've always actually, now that I reflect back, have always asked for things that sounded interesting or for opportunity. So instead of wondering what if, I would rather ask the question, get the answer, and know. So here again, the work was not fulfilling me. And again, twiddling my thumbs at work didn't sound like something that I wanted to do or that was fair, or me sitting at work and doing my schoolwork, again, obviously is not ethical. So, and truly by me doing that, working in HR while I was going to school actually made school so much easier because I could directly apply what I saw in the real world. Same way as now taking HR classes at school, I was able to immediately apply that knowledge in the real world. And again, it just went for me hand in hand. I won't sugarcoat it. I did sleep for about max 4 hours a night for about 4 or 5 years. So do not recommend that. But I made it out on the other side. And honestly, if I had a chance to do it all over again, would not change a single thing.
Well, I have to ask you because most of people would have taken that opportunity to have that downtime at somewhere they would call work and be like, I'm taking a nap, I don't got the kids. I don't have to worry about nobody texting me, blowing me up. My boss is happy with me. I've done my work for the day. And it makes me curious, did this motivation and this sense of have more, be more, do more within yourself, did you build that over time through an experience, or has it just kind of always been the way that you were? And like you said, curiosity. It apparently doesn't always kill the cat.
So. And I'm surprised now reflecting back, and I love sleep, so I have no idea how I did it. I think it has a lot to do with how I grew up. I was born in Russia. I did move to the United States when I was 13. But another important part is my mom left Russia when I was 10 in 92, right when the fall of communism was happening. And not to go, too many details on that experience, but the government did not allow my mom as she was leaving the country to take me with her. So I was collateral for, kind of government's collateral for her to eventually have an incentive to come back into the country. So, and once she came to the US, she started the paperwork for our green card and everything. And that took almost 3 years. So I think that gap of 3 years from 10 to 13 made me grow up a lot. And then the experience of moving to a different country at 13, going smack straight to 8th grade. I learned British English growing up, which is very different from American English. Kids are not genuinely, very nice as is in middle school, and it's just an awkward phase for all of us. Now imagine being, right, the weird import kid that also speaks funny English and doesn't, right, understand pretty much any references that all the other kids did. So I think that also really, really shaped me. But the biggest part too is I never expected to be a mom at 19. And my daughter is my greatest everything. And I never wanted her to have less than, and I never wanted to use her as an excuse of why, right, I did not finish school, why my career or lack of was what it was. So I think that her in itself was the biggest motivation for me to do more and to give her the best life I possibly could.
Yeah. And Kevin, just before I know, I'm going to like, I just have to say this because me and Kevin created something that I think it's in one of our clips we can play. But it says, you know, you're willing to die for someone, but are you willing to live for them, to exercise for them, to eat healthy for them, to do all these things? Are you willing to do it for yourself? So Kevin, go ahead.
Well, and I'll play that as our first point
Okay.
to ponder, by the way. But I wanted to ask you because if you did not tell me you were from Russia, I would assume that you were native-born American, as they say, because you don't have an accent. Can you produce an accent on demand?
I don't think so. But if I do go back and spend a couple of weeks there, apparently I do come back with a little bit of an accent.
Well, you know, at the time, very many years ago, when I was doing Shakespeare and or Lazar
Sound
Wolf
like
the
a
Butcher
pirate.
from, yeah.
There you go.
And so it's amazing to me. But you have moved beyond to create your own company, and you are doing something really special. Did you know that you were destined for this, or was this a surprise?
Complete surprise. Again, growing up, half of my family on my dad's side were all doctors. Half of my family on my mom's side were professors at a university. So I grew up with both sides of the family constantly, you know, figuring out which path I was going to take, a doctor or a professor. And those were kind of the only two things in front of me. And then moving to the US and taking the path that I did, imagine again trying to explain to my grandparents in Russia, in a country that is not known for having a lot of rights, let alone employment rights, what my job is and what human resources were. They thought it was completely made up. They still, I think, have no idea what it is that I do, and especially with how my field has evolved in 25 years. So that was never on the vision board, and the company was never on my vision board. It actually, I've always loved and valued relationships, not for the sake of checking boxes and collecting memes, but again, having started working at a very young age and getting into the HR field at really 18, 19, because it's always, even when I was an executive assistant, it was always HR recruiting talent adjacent. So getting into that field as early as I did, I made sure to go and place myself into the rooms of individuals that had experience, that had the knowledge, that I could build relationships with. They could be my mentors. And as I was figuring out and was thrown into projects that I didn't know how to do, I had folks that I could reach out to and ask those questions. And I didn't look at it as, again, right, networking or really business development, but really now looking back, that's exactly what it was. Because about 6 years ago, I've had some individuals, again, that I've known for years that started coming to me and asking for help with a project here or there. I helped. Then after a few, somebody asked me how much I charge for help. And I'm like, wait a second, I can actually make money doing this? Because I've been doing it for free. So I started, right, kind of figuring out what I would charge. And then a little over 3.5 years ago, I decided to stand up my own LLC because as I knew I was going to depart one of the organizations that I was with, there was an opportunity to also help them on a consulting basis. So I just decided to do everything correctly. That opportunity did not pan out, but ever since then, the universe has sent me a number of projects, opportunities, and things that I've been able to make the best use out of my LLC. And even now, the things I'm doing, I would have never guessed that I'd be doing them a year ago.
Mhm.
I can only imagine what your grandfather said, and I'm going to replay that conversation in my head when we come back from this break. But Rochelle, could you give us all of her information?
You were going to try to say her name. I think
I
you should.
was.
Yeah. Yes, if you want to find Oksana, I believe, as we talked about before, the best place would be on LinkedIn. So it's Oksana, and her last name is Lukash, which is Lukash. And don't go anywhere because we're about to start talking about some very important things like culture.
Hey, well, everybody will be right back after these messages. And then, what do you mean, human resources? What is that all about? We'll be right back. Here is another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. The world is full of people who would die for someone they love. But what about living for them? Waking up early to take care of your health. Letting go of the habits that steal your years. Choosing rest instead of running yourself empty. The truth is, your family doesn't want a hero who dies for them. They want a parent who stays. A friend who grows old with them. A soul who chooses life every single day. Don't just die for love. Live for it. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin. Rochelle is right there. Say hello, Rochelle.
Hey.
And we are talking with Oksana. I can't do it. I can't.
I can give you a little trick. So if you just use Roxana and drop the R, then it's very close.
Oksana.
There you
Okay.
go.
See, I can do it. I'm okay.
I knew it.
And she is a wonderful human being. By the way, I wanted to mention this because before I get into your grandfather, some people in our audience may not really know what an HR person does. Now, HR stands for Human Resources. What exactly does that mean? And what do you do every day other than look at resumes?
Sure. And I actually don't even like the term HR because I do not look at humans or individuals as resources. So if you even take a look at my LinkedIn, in the last few companies, I very much have renamed the function people or people and culture. And I would even now go further that it even needs to be people and experience versus culture. So people, organization, I would say again, is very different than HR. HR is a function normally that ensures that what the organization does, the processes, the policies, the rules that they have for employment and the tenure of all individuals within the company is lawful, that it meets the expectations and all the regulations of the federal laws as well as state laws. I think, again, a big misconception is that HR hires and fires people. The HR is involved, but they should not be the decision maker. They're there to ensure that it's done fairly, that it's done equitably, that it's done lawfully, but they're not the decision maker. At the end of the day, your manager is the person that hires and fires you because you are a member of their team. You report to that individual. They are responsible for your really honestly happiness. They're the ones that are probably 95% of your entire experience with the organization. And they're the ones that are going to help you succeed or not. And again, make all of the decisions on your mobility, promotions, demotions, your compensation, and everything else that happens during your time with the organization.
You know, what's interesting about that is it's changed over time. And it has changed quite a little bit over time, because there was a time years ago when I was young, which was a few years ago now, where an employer could, a manager could walk up to a pretty young person that was working with them and put his hand on his arm and say, "Hey, sweetie, how you doing? You're looking killer today." And that's, you can't do those things anymore. That's sexual harassment these days, and it's changed. Have you had, in the course that you've worked with, has that evolved for you so that you could learn all about that and then begin to treat people as people, not a living resource?
And unfortunately, Kevin, I wish that was in the past. It still happens every single day, and probably
You're
happens
kidding.
every single hour, minute, and second, somewhere in the
Even at
country.
the grocery store.
Yeah,
gas
it happens
station,
all the time.
anything.
The difference, I think, is that there's a lot more awareness. I think I'm, again, hopeful that all companies, leaders, people, again, within HR and the people function, and I'm happy to go a little bit deeper into how, to me, the people function is different from HR, or is right in addition to HR. But there needs to be a lot more awareness and communication of what everyone's rights are. There are more tools normally in place with organizations to give individuals multiple opportunities to speak up when something like that happens. So I've actually, even right, being in the function myself, have experienced those very uncomfortable moments myself, and had to navigate very unique situations of how do I now report it, address it, and deal with it. But that's why it's important for companies to be very mindful that their HR people teams are such that they're not understaffed. They're not buried in the minutia and the busy work, but they also do have the capacity and the desire and ability to build relationships across the organization. So when employees are not sure, right, if what just took place is right or not, but right, we get that tingly face, or something raises your eyebrow, or it just doesn't sit right with you, they have a place to go to and talk to somebody, and right, talk through it and understand, was it a misunderstanding or was it something bigger than that? But it can't just be right the HR or the people team. You need to also have abilities for individuals to, again, escalate this or have those conversations with any leader within the company that they feel comfortable with, or have anonymous systems in place outside of just a phone number. Because we've all probably been in situations where, right, we're asked to fill out a survey and we're told it's anonymous. And how many of us were like, but is it really? Who's gonna, especially depending if I need to maybe share something spicy, who's gonna then go and try to find out who said what? So that needs to be front and center for all leaders and organizations, to have more than numerous ways for people to speak up. Because the idea is, you want people to bring things up when they are just an eyebrow raise, when they are just, I'm not sure if it's right or not, because that's where you can make the biggest impact. When somebody has had repeated instances like that unfortunately maybe have escalated to something even worse, it is, first of all, that person has been suffering for a very long time. Their impact on them is usually something that's significantly harder to come back from, to make them whole again. And right, it's not as easy as Control Alt Delete. Some impact can be permanent. But right, you want to, again, be able to get involved and resolve situations as soon as possible. And I can't stress that enough.
Yes.
Well, and I would just sit here and, almost everybody's got a boss. And I can just imagine the CEO of a company saying to somebody, so wait a minute, let me see if I get this straight. You said something inappropriate to the HR lady. Have you lost your mind? But that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think, again, right, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We all, right, I'm sure, again, have a silly, goofy side, whatever else, and the way that we might talk to our friends and outside of the workplace might be more relaxed. And we're all, I'm sure, guilty of saying things that might be, right, misunderstood or make a stupid joke or, again, a comment that we should not have made. So I'm not saying, again, everything is black and white. I think also the thing that needs to be looked at is the intention. Was it something, again, where a person just, right, said something that they shouldn't and they're putting their foot in their mouth? And I think that's where, again, you can work with them and help them not do that again and take responsibility. Or is it, again, there is that mean intention and it's repeated behavior that goes unchecked? And that's where, right, as organizations or as leaders or just as people that care about one another, whenever we see things that are happening around us, be it at the grocery store, right, or the airport and everything you mentioned earlier, Michelle, it is an opportunity to say something. And we don't have to be controversial. We don't have to be rude. But I think, again, saying something and protecting somebody that might not be able to stand up for themselves, I think then helps stop that bad behavior and help the offender understand and hopefully, again, not do that again or do it significantly less until that behavior goes away.
Right. And yes, please, Kevin. I just wanted to say, because it's one thing to be the person going through it and maybe have something happen multiple times. And then you come to a point where you let somebody know and it's like, well, why didn't you let us know before? And then it makes you kind of look bad. Well, what did you do to engage that or whatever else it is? But it is even worse to be a bystander of it. If you see somebody that is incapable or misunderstanding maybe something they don't even understand is happening, to be the person to go and do something about it and speak up. And if whoever you're working for or with doesn't agree with you and doesn't want to listen, don't work for them anymore. Like, there's so many different good people and good companies that can bring life into you, not drag it out. And I think those bad experiences do that. It doesn't matter whether somebody said something very specific, whether maybe they said it behind your back, the he said, she said, maybe they waved weird or whatever it is. And also, we're adults. If you're working in a company, walk up to the other person, let them know, hey, these are my boundaries. This is how I took this. Can we evaluate this without involving the boss? Because next time I will. And to be that person, let me tell you one thing, they probably won't do it again because now you've given them a direct reason to respect you and set that boundary. Just food for thought.
Yeah.
Well,
and
but then...
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, but then that guy that you go up to as somebody that was truly offended by what was being said to you because of your sex, which is a lot of it, and then you go and you confront them, and they walk away from that conversation saying, "Boy, what a bee she is!" Or
they think it's attractive, and then they really don't leave you alone.
And it is so sad that we even have to have this conversation. But it is necessary because we should all be treated equally, and you should treat everyone regardless of what they look like, their sex, and as an employee, as a human being, and say appropriate things, and not, hey, sweetie, how you doing? You look really hot today. That's, but
or even the smallest thing. You don't need to comment on somebody's shoes because they maybe were up all night and had a kid throw up on them, and now they're all, just you don't know what's really going on. Don't be that person. And I would say that I do agree with Oksana. I'm glad to say that I've seen there is so much more awareness. There is more availability and ways that you can talk to somebody or get help, or, have somebody that will stand with you on that. It's gotten much, much, much better because people are starting to lose. They're having a turnover rate that is insane. And so there needed to be changes made.
And I want to add one thing, Rochelle, to what you said is we need to also be very mindful of our reactions, to the point that you made. If somebody has experienced something multiple times and now, for whatever reason, is their time to speak up, and you are the person that they chose to speak up to, be very mindful of your reaction. Yep. Do not jump to, why did you do this, or this? Because again, now you're almost right, victim shaming. Yes. Be a great listener. Be curious. Lean into empathy, not sympathy, because you have seek to understand what else, right, took place that they're not sharing yet, because you're only exposed to a tiny little part. And most individuals, I think we're wired, especially in the world that we live in right now, because everything is moving so quickly and we have so many things on our plate, and all of us are overwhelmed and overworked. And it's also the instant gratification that we can get everything right away, right? Amazon Prime Now, and any food can be delivered to your house. Yeah. This is not the part to rush. That is where you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable and listen. Because again, it took a lot of guts and a lot of courage for that person to speak up. They most likely don't want to, but it's now at the point that they also speaking up hurts less than keeping it all inside. So if you're going to automatically start attacking them or coulda, shoulda, woulda all over them, they're never going to do it again. And that's what spreads within the organization. That's what gives, right, everybody a bad rep. And you're not going to find out about situations until they are a forest fire. And then, unfortunately, you have very few things that you're able to do to address it. And it's not even to not address it. It's more to try to put the fire out and then deal with the entire aftermath and ugliness that stays behind it.
Well, and it does affect your job if you're that leader too, because then when HR, whoever else, they come in and they're like, what the hell happened here? And it all started with somebody coming to you and you didn't listen to them. Oh, honey, you better get ready for that. And I know we need to take our halftime break. Kevin, if you want to lead us there, go to Oksana's page on LinkedIn. Her website is in reconstruction, but her business is People, Culture, You. If you want to look that up, you'll find plenty of information, and then we'll be back to talk more about it.
And when we come back, Oksana, I want to talk about the Good Old Boys Club and how that works within an organization that can lead to a lot of hangovers if the leader of that organization is a heavy drinker and you're expected. Anyway, we'll talk about it. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Michelle's right there, and we're having a terrific conversation around something that happens in every company and sadly in a lot of people's private lives as well, is how we treat each other. And sometimes we create a culture that is that is bad for everybody, and we don't even know that we've created a bad culture. Would you, Brichelle, has that ever crossed your mind or been part of your existence?
That's called however is best put. Maybe Oksana, you can help me here, but a friendship culture. It's not classy, it's not professional, it's not necessarily even respectful, because not everybody respects their friends, but it becomes this, maybe leaders fall into that when it's like, I just want everybody to accept me or be able to just have fun and have it not be so serious, maybe. But yeah, I would say more of just a friendship culture. There's drama, there's this, there's that, and lots happens usually outside of the workplace as well.
It's more, I think, where culture is not intentional. Culture is something that somebody thought of. The CEO usually thinks one or two people in the company are responsible for it. You have some words on a wall and that's it. You don't measure anything. You don't talk about it. People goals and talent goals are not part of the corporate goals. It's just, again, you measure the same statistics and metrics that everybody else does, and you say the right buzzwords in the right rooms, or again, during quarterly earnings or whatever, right, public opportunities you have of press releases. And I also call it kind of like the peanut butter approach. Let's take a little bit and just spread it across everybody, because everybody loves peanut butter, right? And a little bit for everybody is what we should be doing. And I think that's where it all falls apart too.
Yeah.
Why is it in your work, why is it that we treat each other as less than in a lot of cases? Is it because of our own insecurities that we do that to other people? Why is it? Why can't we be kind to everybody?
Oh, I wish I had one simple answer. I think, again, we can talk about that. We can do probably a whole series on this. I think it's a lot of things. First of all, the way that we work was built for a very different world. And it was built for a very different type of folks that were in the workforce. And this is not a gender thing, but let's be real. When kind of, right, the 8 to 5 and everything started, primarily men were in the workforce. So again, the way of working was built by men for men. It's not right or wrong. It's just what it is. And very little, if any, has evolved. So we are still working the same pretty much way we did 100 plus years ago. But think of all the changes that have happened in 100 plus years. We're trying to only tweak little things. This, again, I don't know how it's going to land with people, but at the end of the day, most of policies and ways of working that companies have are based on federal and state laws. They're not based on, hey, let's create, again, the best environment, the best experience, the best culture, the best everything for our employees based on their needs. It's let's ensure we're doing exactly the bare minimum of what we need to, not to get in trouble legally. So we build those spaces, and then we turn around and ask people to come in and bring all of themselves to work and think outside of the box and create things that never been created. Again, it doesn't work. I think another thing is we're trying to come up with very quick wins and easy solutions, and again, apply it to everyone. We assume that if you are a parent, all needs of parents are the same. If you're a woman, every woman's needs are the same. If you are a man, every man's needs are the same. And it's not. You can have two individuals that look exactly the same, that on paper have the exact same, right, family dynamic and everything else. And I guarantee you their needs are going to be very different if you really get to know it. So again, we're wasting so much time and resources and energy trying to force to meet a peg into a round hole versus building those unique individual relationships with each person within our organization, understanding their needs and creating, again, a place in an environment and a role for them and way of working that works both for them and the organization. So example, I, in one of my roles, brought in and hired somebody that I worked with previously. And that individual actually, as I was leaving one company, was going out on maternal leave because she just had her first baby. And during the time that she was on maternity leave, I ended up joining another company. And she really, again, wanted to work together. So I was very honest with her. And I'm like, look, I want to work with you, right? I just started. I'm still trying to wrap my own arms around of what the needs are, what we need to do. I knew she was incredible. Like, she was the person, again, I would trust with anything, right? I'd do anything with her. So I was honest and I'm like, look, I need you. I want you here. If you're okay with this being clunky and bumpy and we'll just figure this out together, we'd love to have you. She said yes. Also, at the same time, her baby was 4.5, 5 months old. It's her first baby. And she had also a very tough time going back to work, right, with the mom guilt and postpartum and everything else. And she asked if, right, she can be remote for a big chunk of it. And because, again, I had so much trust in her, I did say, I'm like, yes, I'm not measuring your performance or your effectiveness by how many hours your butt is in a seat. And again, being a mom at 19, I did miss a lot of firsts with my daughter, and she ended up being my only one. So I never got a chance to get them back. I never wanted her to have to choose. And I think that's another misconception is we're so obsessed with or, right? It's either this or that. And it's not, it's an and. She can be a professional and she can be a mom and she can be all of these things. So guess what? We figured it out. And I'm like, whatever, right, your deliverables are, I don't care when you get it done. Just get it done. If you're not responsive, if you're constantly late on your deliverables, then we're going to have a conversation. And I let her know, I'm going to tell you as much in advance as possible when there are certain on-site events, team meetings, other things that would be super helpful if you're on site, more for even you, not me. I'll give you as much notice as possible. And eventually would love for you to have some presence in the office. Guess what? She never was late on a single deliverable. She was one of the most engaged and high producing individuals on the team. To say that she went above and beyond would be an understatement. She was fully fulfilled and happy because she was able to be home with her baby and see all the firsts and manage her calendar the way it worked for her. And I never had to ask her to come on site. Within a period of time, she was in the office 3 to 4 days a week. And I think that's what we need to start doing with people is, again, not assume, not treat people the way we want to be treated, but treat people the way that they want and need to be treated where they currently are in their life. And for that, we need to know what their needs and wants are. And that does take time. But I would also argue we're wasting significantly more time doing the peanut butter approach, creating all of these issues, creating all the funk, dealing, Bruchelle, right, with the turnover, replacements, and all the things, and losing incredible people because we're unwilling to, right, spend and invest the time and care about them as individuals at the front end.
Which is motivation at its finest. And Kevin has taught me that that's possible. He's been that person that says, you know what, we're here through it all. We're a family. And just all I ask of you is show up when you can and do your very best. And it's made me want to show up more for anything in my entire life. And it's also changed the way I think about things when I'm away from work. Because really, when you help somebody in work and make them feel important and successful, like you said, they get to enjoy their life. It's not or that, it's and this and that and this and that. And that's exciting. And people deserve that. So, Kevin, do you have another question that she can resume in her mind before we take the break?
If I can add one more thing to what you just said, and another
Yeah.
part I think of this is things are not happening to you.
For
You
you.
by doing that and working together, you are partnering, right, and co-creating things. And when people are able to co-create and be the designer of what happens to them, of course they're going to be all in it. And when somebody again gives you that understanding, that support, and believes in you, like again the example that you gave with you and Kevin, most of us would never want to ever destroy that or do anything, right, that will again hurt it in any way. And I'm sure anytime you have an obstacle or an issue or anything else, you're the first one to share it. So that again, it creates that two-way constant communication. And that's what it is. It is a relationship. And I think that's the part that we forgot. It's just a professional relationship, right? Because we would never treat our loved ones at home that way. Maybe, right, where the love aspect is not there, but it is a relationship and somebody that you care about professionally, and you together are working for that common goal and outcome.
Exactly.
It is vital. Well, we need to talk about more about this because I am so passionate about it. And I'm passionate about the work. It's people first. It's not an employee. It's not an employee number. It's people. And you don't need to do anything, but it's important to get to understand the needs of the individual, because if you can help them meet their needs, they will bend, and I've seen it time and time again. They will bend over backwards to make sure they protect you and they take care of you, and it becomes a real, dare I say it, a real great culture. And we'll be right back in 28 seconds. And we're talking with, then we'll be Rochelle.
Do it. I dare you.
Oksana. That's it.
There you
Oksana.
go.
And we will be right back. We'll have all her information for you because you need to talk to her in many different avenues and reasons why she can help you. If you are the CEO and you're concerned about your profitability, you're concerned about your turnover, there's a reason for that. And you need to understand why that is, because it's costing you a buttload of money. And also it's affecting the culture. And so we'll talk more about that. This is just a 28-second piece. I'm sorry. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A woman spent years hating the reflection in her mirror. One day, she whispered, "I am enough." Day by day, her reflection became her friend. Self-love begins with the words you tell yourself. Speak gently, because you are listening. This is brought to you by Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk. Oksana is here. She's here. That's her. And Rochelle is right there, too. And Rochelle, if somebody wants to get and work with Oksana, how can they get that done?
I do believe the best way is to find her on LinkedIn, Oksana. I've never seen anybody else with that name, so she shall be the first one to pop up. And then if you're also curious, we are talking about people, culture, and you, which is also her brand. And I just have to, before this leaves my brain, you mentioned something about like the legality of things. Is there certain laws that are in place that you've seen that we can maybe bend around to make something better, or we need to completely change that are just set in place as blockers so we're prepared in a way?
Yeah, I don't think really, right, too many laws really need to be changed. I think what needs to be changed is the way we use them. Just because you're given a bare minimum, is that what you should adopt? Is that the right thing to adopt? So a good example, actually, and there aren't tons of laws on this, some states are starting to have them, but bereavement leave. Almost every single company has it. The thing, and I'm going to try to be PC because this just irks me so badly. The thing that drives me up the wall is, how dare does somebody think that they have the right to define what a family member is to anybody? And if you look at most employee handbooks, what do they say? You get X amount of dates for your immediate family member. Immediate family member is defined, blah, 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 blah. And you get fewer days for your other family members, and they give you a description there. And it's usually, your immediate family member. So now what happens to somebody that did not grow up with a mom and dad, but they had an influential whomever that are their chosen family? What happens to somebody, again, let's say a step parent that, again, has a stepchild, and your handbook doesn't define them as your family member? It doesn't even matter what the definition is. It's more like, who even thought that we have the right to do that? So again, in my roles, and at least in the companies I've been part of, that is one of the first things I flush down the toilet, and I completely strip it and just say again, for a loss of a loved one in a family who you consider a family member, because it's impossible for us to know the life story of every single individual. And most companies tell you, that your time, whatever is allowed, you're supposed to take right away when that person passes or something happens. Is grief, is that an out-of-the-box process that everybody goes through the same and everyone can deal with it the same? No. That is probably one of the most, individual, unique journeys that a person can go on. So again, strip all of that away. I've included things in updated bereavement policies as a loss of a miscarriage or a failed IVF. And guess what? Not just for the female going through it, but for their partner. Because again, that is not only a physical toll, but an emotional and a mental toll. So let's start thinking about what our people and team members are actually going through and creating ways of working that are supporting them. And in a way that makes sense, that's flexible enough to where, yes, we still have a business to run, but that support them during the times of need in the best way that they need it.
Yeah. It's so sad too, because really, just to me, in my mind, it's an understanding of humanity. You lose, what about a pet that you've had for 12 years? 12 years. You can't, even 5, it doesn't matter how long, or you could have had a friend you grew up with, you haven't seen them in God knows how long, but that doesn't mean it's not going to affect you. There's so many different ways, shapes, and forms of what if it's a family you grew up with and somebody else's cousin in the family that was somebody. There should be no time limit or restriction around grief and what it goes through. And like you mentioned, a lot of times it doesn't really hit a person until later. Maybe they'll go into this immediate funk, but the journey is long. And to say, well, you need to deal with that right now and then come back and be ready to work is absolute insanity. Out of everything that you are and the work that you do, I am so blessed. You were put on this earth to help companies recognize we need to understand each other's humanity, because it is life changing. And Kevin's been that person for me as someone to work for that I've never experienced before. The amount of respect I have for him is out the door, just because he understands that I am human. So thank you so much for saying that.
You're welcome.
She thinks I'm crazy, but Oksana, I'd even take it one step further, because when somebody passes away, when a family member, when a spouse passes away, and you have family there, and you have everybody that is working with you, that sometimes the worst and loneliest part is the first anniversary, the first Christmas, the first Valentine's Day. And those can have as much or more grief. And we need to give each other grace for that kind of stuff and understand that that's the human nature that we all have. And I agree with, and no wonder you get a little irritated about it, because we need to treat each other with more respect and kindness, and understand that we don't all handle the same. And Rochelle's absolutely right. I lost my dog. I had to put him down because he had cancer. He was 8 years old. He was my absolute best friend. He was, and in my house was be the only one that I could count on to wag his
Your
tail when I came
child.
home.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you lose more than one person at a time. Like, that alone matters. And then, like, I speak from experience. There was a delay in a funeral that I was going to for many reasons. And it was almost 3 weeks later. So I had already gotten my time off. I spent it, and I lied. I told them that it was like and I felt so bad. That's when I felt guilty, because the only way that I could get time with my best friend, because her brother had passed, was to say that it was like my sister, my aunt, or this extreme thing, which is horrible. And then on top of that, the funeral wasn't until weeks later. When I took that time off for the funeral, they expected me to come in after the funeral because I couldn't have the whole day off. And then I came in, a hot mess, not focused, can't regulate a single thought in my mind. And then they're like, oh, well, you're unreliable and you're not steady today. Let's check in tomorrow. Do you know how that made me feel? Like, it more than it being about the company, I wanted to directly attack that person, because if it had been them, I wouldn't have reacted the same way. So it is very, very important, and there should be no restrictions based off of who it is or when it is or why. If you can't be a company that feels strong enough and has a solid ground to not give people those time, you should probably take a step back from what you're doing. Would you agree, Oksana?
Yeah, or I think be very clear in who you are, right? Because here's the thing. We, I think, again, align, right, on a lot of ways that we feel individuals should be treated. And there are other people that don't look at it that same way. And that's fine. I think that's where, if we take it back to the importance of knowing your values, knowing who you are, knowing the culture that you want to have within your organization, and being so crystal clear and unapologetic about it is so important. Because then what you do is you attract and bring in people that are going to do their best work in that type of environment. So if you do, again, want it to be all the things we talked about, then build a way of working, right, that supports all of that. Be, again, unapologetic and completely uncompromising about it. If, again, right, not, again, trying to be controversial, but let's take Elon Musk. There's enough information, right, all over the news when he took over Twitter, what was important to him. And it was working 20, 24-hour days, or, right, multiple days, right, in a row with no breaks. If he did reward folks that slept in the office, curled up under their desk, and all of that. And there are individuals that actually, right, like that environment.
Yeah.
Great. Be, again, clear. Know who you are, know who you're not, and don't deviate from it. Don't pick a flavor of the month or a flavor of the week.
Yep.
Stick to it and bring in people that will do their best work in that environment, and don't bring in people for whom that environment is, it's going to be like oil and vinegar.
Well, and you're also taking them away from knowing what is better and what their purpose actually is.
Right. Yeah. And to go back even, right, like when we were talking about, again, with the bereavement example, it's even further than just a loss of somebody. We live in a world where there have been so many unfortunate events that what if you witnessed something horrible? What, again, if you were driving to work and you witnessed a horrific accident? We're still human. It's going to impact us at some point. So again, Who are we to tell somebody else how to handle a situation, even if we've been in that situation? Their reaction can be completely different. So going back to even our earlier point is that's where we need to, instead of wanting to solve things and have that easy staples button and right, just completely check the box and move on to the next thing, leadership is all about more the curiosity, the slowing down, the getting to know somebody, understanding the situation, and really more asking the person, what do they need? And if they don't know, then giving them that space to find out and know that it's safe for them to come back and let you know what they need and how they're going to navigate.
Without trying to figure it out. That's key. Love it.
You know, I hate this. We've run out of time again, Rochelle.
Yes, I know. I already had 2 more thoughts, and I'll just save them for next time.
Well, and one of the things that I want to talk about is precedent. How, not the president, but precedent as far as, you know, oh no, we can't do that. That'll set a dangerous precedent if we're being kind to people and letting somebody take that extra day or that half day or when, oh no, we can't do that. I want to talk to you about that next time. Will you come back?
I will come back. I'd be happy to.
Because we ain't done with you by a long stretch. So, Rochelle, you do such a great job. Would you take us out, please?
Yes. Oksana, please do share the best ways to find you and contact you and learn all these amazing tools. And then any last one thought that you'd like to leave us with.
Yeah, I just want to also inspire folks, instead of waiting for everybody else, I think, to be the change, we're all capable of doing it ourselves. And one of the ways I've been living and taking the approach to my life is we can't ask other people to do things we're not willing to do ourselves. And each small action that each one of us is capable of every single day adds up into huge, again, movements in the right direction. So again, I think choose for yourself. Do you want to be the person that sits and does the sideline commentary for everybody else that's trying? Or do you want to be the person that starts making the changes that you want to see?
Perfect.
Thank you so much for your time. Oh, and I do believe you said LinkedIn is the best contact, correct?
Right now, yes. My website is actually my first name, last name.com, and it should be all revised and updated in the next couple of weeks. So that would be the best way to get a hold of me. But right now, LinkedIn is great. I'm very active on it. I post every day, and I try to, again, do my best to respond to every message in a timely manner.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Oksana.
Indeed. And thank you for Rochelle for you're awesome as usual.
Thanks. Gotta keep the energy high. That's all that matters.
That's it, baby. And Oksana, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you.
We love you.
Thank
all.
you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.